This is the Hear Him Out Show, a show we created for men to be heard, where women are welcome to listen.
Yo, what's good? It's your boy Monty, aka Mr. Motivation.
Blessings. This is Shakim.
Yo, and this is Hear Him Out Podcast. Now, this is a space for men to be heard, where women are more than welcome to listen. Just for people out there, you understand. I know there's 1,000,001 podcasts out there, all right? And the reason me and my guy we came together to even do this is simply because it seems like every podcast, especially ones for men, and correct me if I'm wrong, is very extreme in divisive. Yeah. It's either some toxic masculinity, all women are hoes, you got to pursue type shit, or, and I hesitate to say this, but hear him out.
Hear my boy out, man. Hear my boy out.
Or it's some super simpy, wimpy type stuff, and that don't really appeal to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one thing to tap into your emotions and to be vulnerable and all that stuff, which we about to get into. And then it's another thing to be like, team, no sleep, and I don't want to do nothing. So we just try to be that middle ground.
Yeah, can we find balance, man?
Balance. Ooh, I like that.
I reckon masculinity is about balance now. Come on.
Ooh, we're going to get into it. So today's episode, put the tears to work. Yo, Shakim, let me ask you this real quick, though. When you hear put the tears to work, what's the first thought that comes to your mind?
The first thought that comes to mind is, if you're going to cry about something, do something about it. It's okay to cry. We're not saying to not cry, but if you're going to cry, put them to work and do something about it.
See, and that's the difference when it comes to men and women, right? Women are allowed, they're encouraged, they're expected not just to cry, but to have that level of vulnerability, to let it out, whatever their emotions, and I'm sure a lot of dudes have experienced this. You got your lady. She has a problem.
Oh, that happens often.
The emotions are there, and our man brain, it's, all right, what's the solution?
Yeah.
But what I've learned, and quick little tip, y'all, sometimes it's just about expressing those emotions.
Yeah, apparently they don't always want the answer. Apparently sometimes they just want to express themselves.
And I'm still accepting this because it don't make sense to my main brain. But let me tell you, it will save your relationships.
Yeah. Yes.
But for dudes, because of the way we think like that, you got to put the tears to work. And I'm going to say this right away. You're not a punk. You're not a bitch. You're not weak for crying. If you have to cry, that is your body telling you you're going through something. You got something in you got to let out. And it doesn't serve us when we keep that shit inside of us all the time. You got to let that out. But just letting it out, because even though, I'm sure just like you're more comfortable with it, I still feel away. You know what I'm saying? Like, you ain't gonna find me on my Instagram just like crying just and stuff, letting it loose. Like I'm gonna go for a walk. I'm gonna be private.
All right.
But as a man, you got to put the tears to work.
Yeah.
After you cry, what are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Because you got to acknowledge those feelings. You got to acknowledge those emotions. You can't hold that shit inside you.
Yeah.
And that's going to allow you to express that. But now, what's the next move? You got to put the tears to work. So one thing we're going to talk about, the first point we want to hit on today, vulnerability is a privilege. Think about that. Vulnerability is a privilege for a lot of men. We don't have the privilege. We don't have the right to be vulnerable because oftentimes, and this is my experience, and let me know if you experience the same thing. When you express vulnerability, oftentimes, if it's with your boys, it's either jokes, because the shit is uncomfortable. When your man's is too vulnerable because we not used to dealing with our own emotions, you're like, damn. Unless it's something extreme like a loss of a loved one or whatever. But when it's just everyday life beating you down, like, it's uncomfortable. So what do? We joke about it. You know what I'm saying? Man, stop being a bitch, stop being gay, all these different things. And we see it as a privilege. We have to go through something extreme in order to express it. But in reality, and this is, yo, hear me out.
Yeah.
Hear him out on this, okay? Yeah. Not saying that women don't have more of a right. Well, what I am saying is, as men, and I'm talking about good men, I'm talking about dudes who live up to the moniker, who have honor, who have respect, who have values. If you handling your business as a man, if you're holding it down for your family, your brothers, if you holding it down for the loved ones, if you in your kid's life, if you're doing all these things that are expected of a man in which we get no credit for, if you don't do it,
You're a piece of shit.
Basically.
Yeah.
Right?
You're a deadbeat. Yeah.
You're deadbeat.
You're nothing.
Right. But if you do it, you're just doing what you're supposed to do. Right.
Yeah.
So
If you do it, you're bare minimum.
bare minimum. It's just like, okay, you're doing what you're supposed to do, so you don't get no credit for it. And this is gonna be an episode we're gonna dive into later, but there's a weight of expectation. And if we don't release that weight, that's how we end up. That's why men are most likely to commit suicide more than anybody. It's because of that weight. So if anybody deserves to be vulnerable, it's us. The weight of expectation that is put on us. And society is mad crazy. Now, once again, I could hear the comment section loud and clear right now. What about the expectations? What did we say at the jump? It's a space for men to be heard and for women to listen.
Yeah.
So hear him out.
Yeah,
okay?
hear him out.
We don't get the benefit of the doubt from society. So if you're handling your business as a man, you're holding it down for your lady, your family, you handling your responsibilities, you're an upstanding dude, the weight of expectation, the margin for error is so damn small. If anybody deserves to be vulnerable, if anybody needs to be vulnerable to offload that weight of expectation off of us, it's us.
Yeah.
Like,
right now, that's something that may need to be put on a t-shirt or something. Brother, because we got to really recognize exactly how much weight some of us men are pulling on a daily basis. It's not necessarily normal. So this is, again, hear him out. This is not comparisons. We didn't come here to compare roads. We didn't come here to compare roles.
Facts.
We didn't come here to see who has it worse. We came here so that men can be heard. And women, y'all are more than welcome to come listen. You know?
Listen.
But there's something going on, obviously, in our society when men are feeling like they're not being heard on a consistent basis. So we're here to make sure that they're heard. The weight that y'all are pulling on a daily basis requires a certain amount of regulation. And a part of that regulation is recognizing when you are so welled up with emotion that it needs to be released. So there's nothing wrong with letting those tears out. Even if that means you going into a room by yourself. A secret that a lot of people don't know about me is when I found out my pops went to jail, it hit me hard when I was younger. And so I consistently, because I had a house full of people, and I don't like people like that. Like, I'm a very introverted person.
Yo, that's facts for real,
lived
though.
in houses full of people.
Yo.
It's a certain version of hell. But as a person who was always surrounded by a lot of people, I would just go into the bathroom and cry with myself. And I would literally, sometimes I turn off the light. Sometimes I leave the light on and look myself in the eye, which is maybe kind of dark. I'm a Scorpio.
A little bit.
I'm a Scorpio, but I would go into my own little quarters and I would cry and I would get my rocks off and I would get my shit together. I would shake it off. I would wipe my eyes and then I would go back out and get it together. But at least I was getting the release, maybe not in the ideal way, but y'all gotta release.
And that's real though. I mean, I do the same thing. I go for drives. I love a good drive. I just let that shit out. You know, I lost my pops. I'm a foster kid, so my foster dad's the only man I've ever known. I don't know my real dad. So when I lost him this February, I feel like a hypocrite saying this now, but it took me until about June to actually cry. It was just, and my lady kept saying, hey, you gotta let it out, you gotta let it out. And I'm like, it wasn't even like I was holding it in, but I got hit with so much grief. It's the only man I ever knew that was, like a father figure. Yeah. And when I tell y'all, ladies, I will say this, y'all stumbled onto something, right? Yeah. I'm telling you, there is a great feeling when you cry and you let that shit out.
Yeah.
And you let it go. There is a physical release. I don't know what it is about grief. I don't know what it is about sorrow, but it has a physical weight to it.
It does.
When you let that shit out.
Man, hey, brother. That's some real shit.
Like, it's real. Like,
that is absolutely real. When you are going through grief, you feel like a heavier specimen. Gravity is pulling on your black ass.
Yo,
that's
and it's
some real shit. So, hey.
And you got to let that out. So
you gotta let it out.
For me, when I did that, and I actually did, I got done filming a show, and I was up in Atlanta, and I just had a day off. And I remember being in my Airbnb, and I had a panic attack, G. I had a panic attack in a long time. Like, I'm breathing heavy, and it's coming. All of that stuff. And I was a mess. I was a hot mess. Yeah. But then the next day, I was lighter.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, put those tears to work. And so it was something about releasing that, acknowledging the fact that, I'm going through some shit.
Yeah.
And the next day when I got to set, it was just like my focus, my pep to my step.
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
a whole nother thing. So put the damn tears to work. So the next next point we want to touch on is this idea, fellas, of manning up. Because I know there's a couple cats out there listening right now, and we've been taught, we've been conditioned, right? We've even been reprimanded. Man up.
Yeah.
Don't cry. Don't be a punk. Don't be a bitch. We all heard it. Let's keep it 100. So when you hear man up, like explain that to me, like what comes to your mind?
Well, at the root of it, we have the word man, and then they've turned it into a verb by saying man up. So do the verb idea of what a man is. So for me, I have to first define what it even means to be a man, which I'm sure can be a whole episode.
Pause real quick.
Yeah.
Hear him out.
Yeah.
So
he
he always gonna take shit mad deep, okay? He always gonna take shit mad. When I thought man up, I did not think about breaking down what a man is. So go ahead, brother. I'm just saying. Just go ahead.
Yeah, because a lot of people will tell you man up and they don't even know what a man is. So why are you telling me to man up when you don't even know the true definition? So first of all, yeah, y'all are invited to listen, but unless you put in the dirty work of what it even means to be a man, just chill for a second and observe for a second. So what I would say for now, just the compressed definition,
Okay.
is that to be a man to me is to be the embodiment of divine masculinity. So for now, we'll just say that.
Okay.
To be divine masculine, I think there's a reason why men were born with a naturally bigger bone frame. So we are here to protect something that if I know everybody doesn't believe in the Hebrew scripture, but there's a reason why one of the first things Most High told Adam to do was protect the garden. So that's why we given the job to protect. It's natural. So if we're protecting something, if we're cultivating something, if we're providing for something, it's natural that we would be the ones who are taking on the brunt of solution-based concepts.
Ooh.
So when I think of man up, it's, okay, what are the controllables right now? Man up in a situation to me means do the thing that divine masculine would do in order to transcend the situation into a better experience, which requires some form of solution-based mindset. So I know that most women aren't going to understand that all the time, because women, I love this about women. It's more of a perspective of stillness. It's like an enjoying of the moment and being still and melting into the ocean of just femininity, which is beautiful.
Beautiful. It's beautiful. We love that shit over here.
We love that shit over here. And then there is another part of the human that pushes humans to grow and acquire and go out and explore, and that's the masculine side. So for us, I think man up is going to mean to transcend, to come up with some form of solution-based idea that can transcend.
Oh, transcend. Okay, hold on. I just want to put a pin in that, because I never heard that. That's my guy. Okay,
Hey.
but the idea of transcending. Now with man up, when it comes to me with man up, I mean, obviously I ain't gonna follow my dude. He just got all deep and shit on us. Okay, but man up. The thing I want to add to that is, like, it's okay to man up. Based off the definition, which we're gonna dive into that, because that has a lot of room to grow. Man up, part of it now, what I encourage people to do, let that shit out. Oftentimes at least when I've been taught to man up, if you find yourself in an emotional state, if you find yourself in a state of vulnerability, it's like, forget that. Stop all of that and man up. I believe that's the first step to it. Acknowledge what you're feeling.
Yes.
Go through that shit. Like you said, transcend it. And how can you transcend? How can you evolve? How can you elevate from something if you don't even understand the root cause of why you're doing that? If we always just push shit to the side or down, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to acknowledge these emotions. I don't want to deal with these feelings. Go straight to the solution, which is mistakes I think a lot of us dudes make in a relationship.
For sure,
and I think women innately and intuitively grasp, I gotta express this first, then I want to hear the solution. We don't care about that. That's irrelevant.
Yeah, we just want this. Yeah,
now let's go to the solution. But that's what you talk about, transcending, and that's the next level. It's like, oh, okay, I need to acknowledge this, because that energy, those emotions, they don't go away. They get pressed down.
Yes. So then, to me, another version of manning up is turning the light inward and facing something.
Oof.
So if you turn a lot of times, men, a natural instinct is to look out for others, protect others, provide for others. So our light is always turned outward. So sometimes manning up is turning the light inward and observing what the hell is going on in your body, what's going on with you. Because how can you show up to your highest potential for others if you're not showing up for yourself? So I think that man up in some cases is turning the light inward and facing what it is that you need to transcend.
I just want to say this. Remember that. Hold on to that, because we're gonna have to get that like a clip in itself. That turn the light inward and facing that is what we don't like to do. Yeah. So with that being said, speaking of solution-based stuff, I got this thing that the next point we're gonna hit on for y'all is, I call it the 3-day rule. So this is my solution when when I'm emotionally overwhelmed, right? When my vulnerability is actually too much for me. I'm a pretty optimistic guy. I see the good in a lot of stuff. You won't catch me down. It's very rare to catch me in a bad mood.
Yeah, it's very
rare.
Right.
I put a lot of work into that, right? Yeah. But I'm human. So I got this thing, I call it the 3-day rule, and I think it might be able to help a lot of y'all out there. So if you listening, if you vibing with us, take notes on this, okay? So I got the 3-day rule, G. So the first thing is kind of what we just spoke on. Manning up, turning the light inward. Acknowledge and accept. So often we like, no, that's not the issue, right? She broke my heart. No, she ain't breaking my heart. She motivated. No. Your heart's broken, bro.
Yeah, she broke my heart.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's shattered.
You hurt.
It's in pieces.
It's all right. It happened to all of us.
It happened to all of us. Right. Some of us a couple times.
Yeah, so
it's cool, bro.
But it's like acknowledge and accept the fact that you're not in a good space.
Yes.
That you feel vulnerable. Yes. And this is the hard stuff. None of us like to hear this, fellas. Hear him out on this.
Hear him out.
Acknowledge the fact that in this moment you feel weak, G. I know it's all about strength. It's and forget invulnerability, right? Acknowledge that you feel weak in that moment. So when I'm going through some heavy shit and it's overwhelming, because we're not perfect. It takes me 3 or 4 days to acknowledge it, because typically I'll do my stuff. I'll go, but then when it gets to a point to where, dang, it's been a few days, I go to my 3-day rule. So I acknowledge and I accept. Now, doing that for me is this. I go get my favorite food. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I'll go watch a movie or an anime or whatever I like to do. And I will.
And favorite food, just for the niggas who is always trying to eat vegan, favorite food sometimes means that it's not the perfect calorie count.
Okay. Right? Y'all don't judge me. All right. So I'm pescatarian. But I dabble in the pepperoni pizza. I know. But when I needed Prince Street Pizza, shout out to Prince Street. You're gonna sponsor this one day once we get bigger.
Let's go.
I get my pizza. I get whatever I got to do, and I do all the stuff I enjoy. The things that we kind of not do because we try to stay disciplined and we got our stuff. But I just do that, and whatever I had planned for that day, unless it's a life or death situation, I'm done with it.
Yeah, I respect that, bro.
I clear it, because it's like, you're not gonna get the best version of me. So let me just clear it. And sometimes that's enough. Yeah. Sometimes God in the universe was just like, yo, you need to stop. You need to sit in stillness. You need to do something for yourself. Day number 2, talk to somebody. Talk to somebody. I'm talking about have a real conversation. The whole reason this even happened is because this is my guy. He's my trainer, weapons, fighting, all that stuff. And we came to train one day and we didn't train. We just talked because this is my dude, and I needed that because I don't have a lot of space. We love our brothers and our friends, which, you got some ignorant ass friends. Yeah. We can't always talk to some dudes.
Yeah, not all of them.
But when you got somebody that you vibe with that's on the same wavelength as you, that was more important than doing our training. Yeah. And that led to this whole thing. It's like, damn, we need a space. And I just felt better after letting you know what I was going through. I was just like, yo, I'm experiencing this, and this. Yeah. And just the just the reflection, just to know that you have people going through the same thing. Yeah. That's what made us come up with this whole podcast and the tag team this. Yeah. And that helped. Now, day 3, if talking about it isn't enough, you might have to seek some help. There's times where I had to dip back into therapy. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? There's times, I had to really stop and go away for a week. When I got back in contact with my biological mom, and another podcast, I'll share a little bit of my, background, both of us. Yeah. But I didn't talk to my biological mom for 16 years. So when we reconnected, I thought all those emotions and feelings, I was like, F that. I ain't messing with none of that. When I tell you that became so overwhelming, and at the time, I was doing the starving artist stuff, working in a restaurant. I'm going on breaks to cry. When it became so overwhelming, I left. I was in a long distance relationship at the time. I left the country for 2 weeks, and it was exactly what I needed. So, quick recap, 3-day rule. Day 1, Acknowledge, accept. Stop trying to push all the emotions and the feelings to the side. Acknowledge and accept. You not him in this moment.
Sometimes you're not him. Look, a wise prophet named Common once said, sometimes knowing I'm weak is when I'm really being strong.
And that's facts.
And that's okay.
And that's what it is. So day one, acknowledge it. Day two, talk to somebody. If you don't have a brother like this, somebody you can talk to, find somebody, a significant other, a family member, a little brother. Just talk. You got to get it out, right? There's power in the words and the voice. Third day, seek some help. Go to therapy. Leave the damn country. Do whatever you got to do. There's something that you're experiencing that might be a hell of a lot deeper than you can completely imagine. So that's kind of my 3-day rule.
Yeah.
All right, so one thing we like to do with this podcast, we like to have a little segment. And today's segment is what, Shakim?
This is our unpopular opinion segment. Our unpopular opinion segment comes when we've been having a great time and the dopamine is surging and we're feeling good, and then the true truth has to come and just ground us a little bit, because all this doesn't mean anything without grounding.
Now, real quick, because this will be chopped up. This will be a segment on itself. If you see this on social media, context, okay?
Context.
Okay, but this is unpopular opinion. We're going to talk about some shit, and you shouldn't like it because it's unpopular opinion. All right, let's go, B.
Well, the unpopular opinion that I have prepared today is based on peer analysis. and the data's in. The data's in. So anyone who is up for conjecture can DM me at _Shakim_. But the data's in. And the data states that crying is healthy. But women don't want to cry baby.
Ooh.
Women don't want to cry baby. Women say something very specific. They say, we want someone who's emotionally intelligent. We want someone who's emotionally available. So I'm going to tell you a quick little story. My homegirl's telling me about a date that she's on my homegirl's telling me about a date that she's on, and this guy who has emotional intelligence and emotional availability is attractive to her because of that, right?
Okay,
In the beginning, it's great. And then one day, randomly, he has a breakdown in the car over something simple. They're at a drive-through, and she basically starts eating food out the bag before he could get his food, and he's hungry, and he's frustrated, and he has a temper tantrum.
Okay.
And his little tantrum shows, oh shit, he has emotional availability, but it's not emotionally mature.
Ooh.
So I think a lot of people.
Pause. Y'all, hold up. Hear him out on this.
Yeah,
you
hear
said
me out.
emotional availability, but
it's not emotionally mature. So I think the term emotional intelligence and emotional availability is circulating around. It's so ubiquitous and prevalent. But the true truth is, I don't know if anybody wants necessarily emotional intelligence or emotional availability. They want emotional maturity. So
I'm just writing this down.
yeah. So what exactly are you doing to mature your emotions? There are rites of passages that we used to go through to say to our boys in the tribe, you are now a man, and there's no more dealing with boy stuff. You don't look at life the way a boy does. You don't eat the way a boy does. You don't walk, dress, talk anymore how a boy does. So now, because those lines of rites of passage have been blurred and we don't do that anymore, you really see a lot of grown up kids. You see men driving grown-up cars, and they have the grown-up clothes, and they speak the grown-up words. You have people who are saying Ashe out there, and they have the crystals and everything. Yeah. And the true truth is that they're not emotionally mature yet, and it will show eventually. If you're not, ladies, I'm telling you, it will come out. Men, we could point it out from a mile away when it's a boy in men's clothes, but I think women are getting fooled a lot now.
Now, let me ask you this real quick, G. So the lack of emotional maturity, even though you might have some level of emotional intelligence. Now, what happens if, and this is experience I've had, right? What happens if you are dealing with a man, not a boy, who does have emotional intelligence, emotional availability, on top of that, emotional maturity? I contend, unpopular opinion,
Marvelous.
Okay? Still, I don't know how many women want to deal with that. And I say this because of this, all right? And I know, hear him out, okay? Women, y'all have such good access to your emotions, right? And to deal with a man who is going through these emotions, expressing his vulnerability, which we don't do often. So when we do express it, understand it's come to its boiling point. So when we actually do express it, it takes a lot of courage, and that shit comes out very ugly.
And it might come out raw. And
Raw.
Yeah.
That's even a better word.
Yeah.
Raw. And I don't know if a lot of women are equipped to handle that.
Yeah.
Also, to take it a step further, this is my personal experience. I've experienced this. I have expressed myself in the past. I've taken my time. I've literally thought it out, said it out loud to make sure it doesn't seem like it's attacking, to not come off defensive, to not come off projecting. But I simply, at the time, the woman I was dating, I was like, look, your actions, what you're doing is making me feel this kind of way. I would like for you not to do that. It's really, and this is some shit I said, it's really tapping into my insecurities. Not necessarily because I'm an insecure dude, it's not. But you're doing certain things that are triggering. And there was no acknowledgement. It instantly went from, damn, I feel attacked. I feel this.
Yeah.
But what about what you do?
Yeah.
And I think, I don't know, I can't say a lot of dudes go through
man,
that.
that's hard,
but I
bro.
have experienced it. And I know there's a couple of dudes that I've talked to who are in long-term relationships, married and stuff. And they can literally say, every time I try to express myself,
Yeah.
it comes out wrong. And let me tell y'all this. Ooh, this is a word, Shakim. You leave your dude with 3 options. This is some relationship advice here. Ooh. Hear me out.
Yeah, because this is real. Because now we're talking about a man who has now done technically what y'all are asking for, and you just haven't recognized it. Maybe because you're not used to seeing it in real time, or maybe because he came out a little raw and it wasn't perfect. But this is now close to a breaking point, is what you're saying.
So we got exactly. So he my man Shakim pointed out the lack of maturity and it coming out too raw. Now we're talking about somebody who's coming out the way y'all say y'all want it. If you do not create space for your guy to express himself emotionally, if you do not create a space, allow for space for him to be vulnerable, even if that vulnerability has you wrapped up in it and has you, like you said earlier, pointing the light at you to look at what you've done or not done, you leave him with 3 options. 1, keep that shit inside and never speak to it again. 2, not deal with your ass. Or 3, keep it inside and find comfort outside of the relationship. And y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. If a man, ladies, it's easy for y'all because you've been encouraged since you were young to express that.
Yeah.
It is not easy for us to get to a point to where we feel safe.
Yeah.
In that space of having that conversation with you. If you do not allow for that space to exist, one of 3 things will happen. He will keep that shit inside and never speak for it again, and it will slowly but surely erode the relationship. He will leave you or lash out, or he will hold that shit inside and just find somebody else who will create that space, which might also lead to him leaving.
Yeah.
But that's just a little unpopular opinion.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. I think that if the man can do something that can revolutionize the relationship, it's to mature your emotions in as many ways as you can. And sometimes, if you think of mature and picking up intelligence, a lot of times we go to school for that. We study for that. So study yourself, man. Say the things out loud. I know that helped me out a lot. When I was going through things, literally saying them out loud, my throat chakra used to be so closed that my voice would shake when I would try to talk about how I was feeling. So I know that some of these things are foreign. I know some people who one of my boys came back from a long stint and he had to learn how to cry. He didn't even understand the concept.
It's real.
So less long being able to do it in front of a woman, the woman that you're supposed to be protecting, now showing that you have to be vulnerable in different ways is hard for me. So study yourselves, turn the light inward, and just see how things make you feel. I always say that. Ask yourself how you feel when you're doing this. How do you feel when you're training? How do you feel when you're around your mom? How do you feel when you're with your girl? And then just say it out loud. Say it out loud before you know it. You're going to have more control over your emotions. They will be present. They'll be mature. They'll be intelligent. And they'll be available. Yeah,
not just
please.
Out loud. This is why I journal. I don't know who said it. I wish I came up with it because I would sure like trademark it. But journaling is the cheapest form of therapy.
Man,
I cannot tell you now, let's not get it twisted.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it is the cure-all for every issue, even though we will do a whole episode about journaling and ways to do it and stuff.
Yes.
But it's just a way to get that shit out.
Yes.
Just get it out. And if you ain't cool with speaking, if your throat chakra isn't as strong yet, if you don't have somebody, sometimes, I do this all the time. I do this damn near every day. It helps. It just helps. It just creates a little bit of space. It just takes a little bit off your chest.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
with that being said, let's go ahead and let's just quick recap of the episode, okay? Put the tears to work. Fellas, vulnerability is a privilege, but it's not. It is a rite of passage to us. The weight of expectation that we carry, what is expected of us, and how little credit we get, because we are to blame for a lot of the ills of the world, but a lot of us aren't. But because of the weight we carry, we have the right and we should be vulnerable. But you got to put the tears to work. And we talk about this, man up, right? And what you say, point the light inward?
Yeah, turn the light inward, man. Turn the light inward. You can't take care of everybody else if you're not taking care of yourself. So the true man up is observing who you are, where you are, and how we can elevate from there.
And and let's not forget about this last little one, all right? The 3-day rule. Day one, accept that shit. Accept, surrender, acknowledge it. Ain't no more, if you feeling sad, she broke your heart, bruh. It's okay. Acknowledge that shit, you know? Ain't no, I don't care about you. Do care, bro. That's why you all heated. Acknowledge it. Accept it. Do something for yourself. Go get a massage. Eat some food. Do whatever you got to do. Day two, you got to find somebody to talk to. You got to get that shit off your chest. Talk to, cry to, whatever. You got to do that. In day three, you might have to seek therapy. You might have to do what I had to do in that situation. I left the country for a little bit. It's not about running away from your problems. Sometimes you got to separate so you can elevate and gain a little bit of clarity. And we don't even talk about the unpopular opinion. I think we hit on that.
Yeah, unpopular opinion. Y'all know what it is. Hey, many blessings. Unpopular opinion. Look, everybody just hold space for everybody.
Yo, that's it for Hear 'Em Out podcast. As always, this is a space for men to be heard where women are welcome to listen. And what's our aim, G?
Our aim is to speak truth, add value, and offer a perspective that has the potential to lead you to growth and elevation.
That's what it is. All right. Peace out. Until next time.